r/AskReddit, what actors left their TV show to pursue bigger projects and it actually worked? Nobody thought Bruce Willis could pull off being an action star. No, nobody thought Bruce Willis could be a blues singer. When that tanked, then he became an action star. He didn't technically leave the show though, it was cancelled. I guess I'm not old enough to have any idea what you're talking about. He was a die-hard action star since before I was born. People thought Die Hard looked goofy when it came out. George Clooney left ER, and he then went on to win multiple Oscars. George Clooney left Facts of Life, then went on to start in Return to Horror High. He's had a lot of success, didn't realize he had won any Oscars though. Margot Robbie left Neighbors and moved to LA, seems to have worked out for her. It wasn't a two-bit part either, she was part of the core character arcs for a few years. Neighbors gave a lot of well-known artists a start. Kylie, Jason Donovan, not quite as successful, Guy Pearce, Russell Crowe, Chris Hemsworth, Margot Robbie, Natalie Imbruglia and Delta Goodram were all in it at one time or another. Another one who turns up a lot in American TV shows, although he probably isn't well known by a lot of people, is Alan Dale. George Clooney left ER. Chevy Chase left SNL. The show Party Down died early because everyone on it, especially Jane Lynch and Adam Scott, got better paying network job offers. I remember watching _Party Down because of Jane Lynch, and then she moved to do this little show called _Glee _ Morgan Freeman leaving the Electric Company. Freeman has said that he was so depressed during those years that the Electric Company was the only work he could get as an actor that he got drunk every night. Kylie Minogue left Neighbors. Went on to over 30 years of being an iconic pop artist. And started a trend of young Aussie soap actors becoming pop stars, in the UK at least. Granted, Kylie did it better than anyone else. Sarah Michelle Gellar leaving All My Children. How many children did she leave you with? Sorry that happened to you. Dwayne Johnson left WWE to become a movie actor. And a gladiator in Star Trek, Voyager. Easily his best role. Link. Everybody leaves SNL except for Kenan Thompson, smiley face. Sad to see his restaurant ideas flopped. He just wanted people to smell what he was cooking. Steve Carell leaving The Office to pursue his film career was a genius move. He went on to deliver unforgettable performances that proved his incredible range as an actor. I mean, before that, he left being a Daily Show correspondent to work in TV as just an actor. His career trajectory is kind of crazy TBH. Taraji P. Henson getting killed off of CBS Person of Interest, itself a very good show, way ahead of its time, was the best thing that ever happened to her career. Man, was that episode ever a gut punch though. Maybe one of the only times I've ever cried over TV. I binged on it a few months ago and I agree, that hurt like there was no tomorrow. Could you elaborate on what happened to her career afterwards? James McAvoy leaving Shameless. And he left early doors to be in Shameless. Kept upgrading. I have only seen the American version and was so confused by this comment. Kal Penn in-house MD, most notably known for Harold and Kumar. He was killed off in So 5 EP 20. Kuttner's suicide was scripted due to actor Kal Penn's decision to accept the position of Associate Director of the White House Office of Public Liaison in President Barack Obama's administration. Ironically, he had to leave that post, albeit temporarily, because he was contractually forced to go back and do another Harold and Kumar movie. Chevy Chase was sort of asked to not return. Robin Williams. NA new. Claire Danes chose to let My So-Called Life end so she could focus on her film career, and ended up doing Romeo and Juliet the next year, as well as several other big products. Fun fact. She turned down the role on Titanic, which paved the way for Kate Winslet to take the role. Claire Danes turned down the role because she cannot stand working with Leonardo DiCaprio because of his on-set pranks he does, that she said she hated it on Romeo and Juliet film. Romeo plus Juliet. Dolly Parton left the Porter Wagoner Show in 1974 to pursue a solo career. It worked. George Clooney is probably one of the best examples because I assume most people now associate him with movies and not with ER. It took some time, but Juliana Margulies hit it big again with The Good Wife after ER. The first thing I remember seeing George in was Roseanne. Deleted. He left Roseanne for ER. He was still on Family Ties when Back to the Future came out. In fact, Back to the Future began filming with Eric Stoltz instead for a few weeks because he couldn't commit to it with Family Ties' schedule. And the first 1/3 of the movie had to be reshot once he was available. Johnny Depp? No question about it, his career grew after leaving 21 Jump Street, Donald Glover and Community. What changed for him after he left though? He was already successful in his music and stand-up. Unless I'm missing something, he has his show Atlanta. Drake left Degrassi to become what he is right now. He should have stayed in that wheelchair. John Travolta. Tarantino casting him in Pulp Fiction is one of my favorite stories. Almost everyone in the cast is a second or third choice. Uma Thurman and Bruce Willis weren't even on his radar, but Travolta was his second choice behind Michael Madsen. Everyone assumed this was to have the studio fight for Madsen, who asked for more money and eventually took a role in Wyatt Earp. Tarantino was actually genuinely excited for Travolta and the studio didn't want him. At that point in his career, he was seen as a washed-up sitcom star who had some musicals. Brent Spiner was all set up to be a recurring character on Night Court, but he ditched the gig when the sci-fi sequel show offered him a part. Link. Adam Sandler is one rich-ass mofo. Topher Grace. It's not the most prolific career, but he's in some big-budget stuff. I think he saw the writing was on the wall with T7S, and he got offered the role of freaking Venom. He came back for like one episode in the last 2 seasons. Leonardo DiCaprio left Growing Pains to do This Boy's Life. That was basically the start of his acting career. In the 1960s, Clint Eastwood, Rawhide, and Steve McQueen, Wanted, Dead or Alive, were in successful TV westerns. They did pretty good for themselves after that. Eastwood didn't leave Rawhide, though. He was in it all the way to the last episode. He starred in A Fistful of Dollars while Rawhide was still running, so he didn't leave a successful TV career to star in movies, they were happening simultaneously. Similarly, McQueen didn't leave Wanted. He was in every single episode. And he was in The Magnificent Seven before Wanted finished. Jared Padalecki left Gilmore Girls for Supernatural. Kal Penn left House to work at the White House. That's pretty cool. Adam Brody left a regular role on Gilmore Girls for a larger one on OC. And GT, Jared Padalecki left Gilmore Girls for Supernatural. Jensen Ackles left Days of Our Lives Smallville to do Supernatural. Dan Stevens has had several higher-profile movie and TV roles after leaving Downton Abbey. Dan was excellent in that Eurovision Song Contest Fire Saga movie. An underrated gem. Ryan Reynolds, not sure he left, more the show no longer existed. Eddie Murphy. Yeah, but Clooney didn't leave ER to pursue other projects. I mean, eventually he left, but he stayed on ER for a few years after making a successful jump to movies, if I recall correctly. Two Guys and a Girl ended well before he became a bigger star. Tom Hanks left Bosom Buddies. Bosom Buddies was cancelled after 2 seasons due to low ratings. Hanks appeared in every episode. He didn't leave. Karen Gillan leaving Doctor Who to play Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy. Did she leave, or was that always meant to be the end of that character? 2.5 seasons is pretty long for a Doctor Who companion. Nebula seemed like such a missed opportunity in Guardians 1, so her major plotlines in Guardians 2 and Endgame were really well done. And she was great in Guardians 3 as a co-lead. Jordan Peele. They could have kept making Key and Amp, Peele forever. I'm honestly shocked this is the only mention of him on here. The Simpsons left the Tracy Ullman Show and got a long-running show of their own. Pierce Brosnan. Nobody thought Remington Steele could be James Bond. Ron Howard left Happy Days to direct and is now one of the most successful Hollywood directors of all time. Jim Carrey leaving In Living Color is an obvious one. SNL probably has a whole bunch, but I frankly could not be bothered to look up who left and who was let go. Remington Steele was cancelled. When Brosnan was cast as Bond, NBC renewed Steele. Brosnan lost Bond and it went Dalton. Been watching Olivia Colman since Peep Show and Amp, that Mitchell and Amp web look. I believe she wasn't really in the later seasons of Peep Show. Since then I've watched her in everything from Broadchurch to Fleabag to The Crown, not to mention her films. She has a truly astonishing page on IMDb, wildly surpassing any other actor's body of work from that dainty little London show. SNL almost feels like cheating, but Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, Bill Murray, Eddie Murphy, Mike Myers, Will Ferrell, Tina Fey, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Martin Short, Christopher Guest, David Spade, Janine Garofalo, Ben Stiller, Billy Crystal and various others would all probably count. Hell, even Rob Schneider had a decently successful string of movies for better or worse. Would have added Robert Downey Jr., Gilbert Gottfried, Chris Rock, Damon Wayans, Joan Cusack, Randy Quaid and Adam Sandler, but they were all fired rather than leaving, so technically they don't count. James McAvoy leaving early doors for Shameless kick-started it all for him. I know he did Band of Brothers around the same time, but he technically didn't leave one for the other until he left early doors after series 1. Michael Douglas. Streets of San Francisco. Yeah, he did okay for himself after leaving that show. Smiley face. Eddie Murphy is but one good example from SNL.